AEW World's End is the last pay-per-view, the last pro wrestling pay-per-view of 2024. Live from Orlando, only about 45 minutes away, but I chose not to go see the show. I couldn't make it this time live, but I did get to watch it on pay-per-view, so I want to give you my thoughts. I did not see the pregame. I'm letting you know that now. I did not see it. I'm going to be reviewing just the main show, the main card here on this review. The good news is that this show was better than Full Gear. I thought this show was much, much better than Full Gear. The bad news is that AEW pay-per-views feel a lot less special now. Not just because that the fact that there's more of them. Like when they only had 4 shows a year, each one just felt special and, felt more alive. Now that they've got, about 8 or so pay-per-views a year, something like that, give or take, they're going to end up, no, it's more than 8 now. It's like 10 now. Probably 12 by next year or the year after. By that point, they're all going to feel just like monthly pay-per-views. This one did not go as long as some of the other ones have. I know my review's a bit late, but I was caught up in some stuff. But yeah, AEW has not really been on fire lately. I mean, obviously, I don't have to tell you. I've talked about it in other videos. The company's cold right now. Even some of the more diehard fans are skipping AEW. The storylines just aren't really capturing the people. The Death Rider story, which is still ongoing, is just not working. Like, it worked at first, it's not working. And because of that, I did not care for this main event whatsoever. And to be honest, I haven't been watching the television every week. I've been checking out highlights here and there and skimming through the show. But back, even a few months ago, I would watch Dynamite every Wednesday. Not so much Collision, definitely not Rampage, which is done. But Dynamite, I definitely watch because that was their A show, but not lately. So, it's just not a good TV show. Like, AEW's TV shows are just poorly booked. However, we're talking about pay-per-views, and those are usually good. So, they opened the show with 2 Continental Classic matches, the semifinals. They started with Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher, a rematch from last month's match where Kyle Fletcher won, and he needed the win anyways. And they followed it with Okada versus Ricochet. Now, it's been talked about to death, but the Ricochet angle on Dynamite with Bobby Lashley and the Hurt Syndicate, that was really bad. That was, I don't know what's worse, Ricochet being buried in that segment, or when Brock beat him with the F5 in 2020, and that's the only move he did in the whole match. It was like a 3-second match. I would probably say the Lesnar one is probably worse, especially since that Ricochet and Lesnar, if they work together, would actually have a pretty badass match. But that did not help matters out. So I was able to predict the Continental Classic a month ago, and I knew it was going to be Okada and Ospreay in the final in Orlando, and that almost got me to go to the show. Like, almost. And that's what they did here. And actually, early on in the Fletcher-Ospreay match, Ospreay's bleeding, and so I was watching it with a group of people, and I said, watch. The fact that there's blood in the opening match here tells me that they're going to make this an issue, a part of the story, and that by the end of the show, when they get to the semifinal, Ospreay's loss of blood is going to make him more tired and thus possibly cost him the match. And they did that. They did that very thing. Not quite in the way that I would have liked, and I don't think the announcers properly conveyed the story. But the story was that, again, Will Ospreay was busted open and was losing blood, and they weren't really sure, what's going to happen. But it did help because he was selling and he had to fight from the bottom. Will Ospreay and Ricochet, have put together classics years and years and years ago. But the difference between Ricochet and Ospreay is that I think Ospreay's style surpassed Ricochet because Ospreay learned how to work main event strong style, and Ricochet has the talent to do it, but he's not as well versed in it as Ospreay is, which is proven here in this match. I mean, it's crazy these guys were able to put together another great match after the last one, and we're actually able to top it. I say crazy not because I'm surprised because it's Ospreay, but they just had a great match before. The match was a very quick match, quickly paced. There was no, nothing about the match felt boring. To be honest, it was a bit more grounded than the previous match as far as realism goes, so I liked it more. And Ospreay busted out the Styles Clash, and that was a cool finish. Now, the Okada Ricochet match was actually at a slower pace. This, I'll be honest, little tiny bit of a letdown here. We've got Ricochet, who I think he's lost a step. And I say that maybe because his WWE time may have changed it, but also the stuff that Ricochet did years ago. Let's just keep it a buck here. At one time, he was a very sought after indie talent because he was doing things that other guys weren't doing. But now, especially in AEW, there's a lot of guys in that company that wrestle a very similar style, so he doesn't stand out as much. You understand what I'm saying? He's not as unique as he would have been, years ago. The match was still good, though. And obviously, this story with Ricochet and the Hurt Syndicate is far from over. Okada wins the match. And I don't like Ricochet as a heel right now. It's not working. And then Strickland comes out. Swerve Strickland comes out. And then him and Prince Nana start handing toilet paper out to the fans, who wound up throwing toilet paper at Ricochet. Now, I don't know how I felt about this because it felt a little bit childish, but at the same time, I think they're going for like a Jimmy Rave type of thing. Jimmy Rave, back in the day in Ring of Honor, 2006, 2007, would come to the ring and the fans would throw toilet paper at him. So I think they're doing something like that here with Ricochet. But it seems like Swerve and Ricochet is going to end up being the next big feud between those two. So they had Mariah May and Thunder Rosa in a Tijuana street fight. This was fun for what it was. I really think that Thunder Rosa puts these together well. But I'll be honest with you. I was thinking about this tonight. Thunder Rosa, ever since she had to forfeit the AEW title. Remember, a couple years ago when she beat Dr. Britt Baker on television, it was a massive deal. And I remember people were really happy for her. They were behind her. But when she got hurt and had to drop the title, there was all that controversy about there's rumors she faked an injury and all that. I don't know how true that was. But what happened was her dropping the title, I think she lost a step. And I don't think she ever recovered it. Not in ring, but I mean as far as popularity goes. Mariah May has been slowly turning into a highlight for me. She's a lot of fun to watch. I consider her sort of like AEW's answer to Tiffany Stratton. They're similar, very similar, but not identical. And I think Mariah might be a little bit better as far as an in-ring storyteller. But I think that Tiffany's probably more athletic, but she needs a bit more experience. I thought that the finish fell a little flat. Look, the Toni Storm angle's weird. She has amnesia or something and she forgot who she was. I keep thinking the idea is for her to beat Mariah May and then reveal that she was, that it's still timeless Toni and that she was just pretending to be regular Toni Storm and showing how good of an actress she was. But I'm not sure if they're going in that direction. AEW's booking is very inconsistent, but I do enjoy Mariah May's title reign so far. I just feel like the challengers, it just sort of seems a bit predictable in a way. MJF Adam Cole, this match, this feud, people think Dragon Ball Daima has a lot of retcons. This feud has been a complete train wreck. They had something special last year when they were teaming together and they did those funny vignettes. I thought it showed an evolution in MJF's character. But when they turned MJ, and I never thought he could be a babyface. I really didn't. But he did a great job last year. But when they turned him back into a heel again earlier this year, when he beat up Daniel Garcia, and it was really just out of nowhere. It wasn't like the heel turn. Like, I get that MJF's better as a heel, but it was a bad heel turn because the character of MJF has not evolved at all. Like, what they're doing is they're basically trying to erase all the evolution they did for the past year. Because now the new retcon is, well, MJF was always planning on turning on Adam Cole. And even though back then we suspected that, the fact that it didn't happen, I thought made it more interesting. This storyline's been loaded with retcons. Now, with that being said, I love me some Adam Cole, and MJF was hilarious in this match. Lots of crowd working, lots of MJF cussing at the crowd, yelling at the crowd. Like, every time he did that, it made me laugh. Like, him, screaming at the crowd, taunting Adam Cole. He really, I think, made this match, doing that, made it more enjoyable. It was very old school. This is the kind of stuff that wrestling did back in the day by playing to the crowd, with Adam Cole, of course, being the avenging face. Now, going into the match, I think the idea of having Taven and Bennett turn on Adam Cole was maybe a bit too obvious. I wasn't sure if they were going to do that. So what ended up happening was they had the match, okay? And what happened was they eventually do a thing where MJF pretends that he's on the outside. He pretends to get beaten up by the Kingdom. So the referee sends him to the back, right? Now, at this point, Cole's out there by himself. At one point, MJF grabs the ring. And of course, he's about to hit Cole, but Cole super kicks him and he takes the ring. So I'm thinking, okay, Cole's going to hit him and win. He goes to hit him, but MJF hits a low blow and then hits the heat seeker and gets the 1-2-3. I am not sure why they're still protecting MJF. I was hoping Cole would win this match and end the feud. The feud is over, though, because what ends up happening is Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly come out, and it is Orlando, and that's where the Undisputed Era worked, and they all sort of chase MJF to the back, and they reunite. Taven and Bennett. Yeah, Taven and Bennett come out, and so basically the story is that Adam Cole got all his friends back. I don't care that much. I love the Undisputed Era. I loved O'Reilly and Cole and the Roderick Strong and Bobby Fish, who's not there right now. I like that stable a lot, but this thing's been so derailed. I'm just glad it's over. MJF and Cole need to move on to other feuds and do something else because this is over. Like, I don't want to see any more of this. Takeshita and Powerhouse Hobbs. Hobbs is a guy who is really... I think he's undervalued. I think he's gotten better every year. Obviously, he was hurt this year a lot, but he's improved a lot. And I'm just going to be honest and just say it. I think if he ever goes to WWE, they'll make him into a huge star. The WWE promotional skills, the tools, his size, they just know how to do it. WWE just knows how to make stars, man. I'm not biased. It's just that AEW has done it, but WWE just has a lot of flavor that AEW just does not when it comes to making stars. Now, this match could have been seen as a star-making performance because it was easily one of Hobbs' best matches. Konosuke Takeshita is getting better and better and better and better and better. Like, he really is. He's bigger now than he used to be. Looks a bit scarier now. Like, if you look at when he first came into the company like 2 years ago, and then, well, about a year and a half ago, and then look at him now. No, it was over 2 years ago. Yeah, never mind. It was 2 years ago. He has definitely changed. There is an evolution to this character. He ends up hitting like the Falcon Arrow Raging Fire move to get the pin. So I don't know what they're going to do with Hobbs, but Konosuke won this one and retained the the international title. There's too many belts in this company. Mercedes Mone and Kris Statlander had what many consider Mone's best match in AEW yet last month. Could they top it here? This is the rematch for the TBS title. People wanted Kris Statlander to win this one, but I'm not sure if and when Mercedes, well, she will get pinned. I just don't know when. She's been very well protected. She has not lost a match since coming into AEW, but she's also very expensive. The scuttlebutt is that not only is she making $5 million a year guaranteed money, which is what Lesnar made a few years ago. That's a lot of money, man. But they brought in her writer to help with her stuff, and that's another $1 million out of Tony Khan's pocket. So he's paying $6 million for her, and I'm not sure if she's worth it. Not because she's not a great athlete, but because I don't think she's drawing the numbers that they want. But the reason as to why TK is paying so much is because if you remember, the Sasha Banks and Bayley feud was very popular during the pandemic, and so because of that, I think that this is why, she was valued high, but she hasn't really, there hasn't been much of an ROI on her just yet. I think the match was fine. I didn't connect with the match as much as I wanted to, but the match in and of itself, the work in the match was good. It was fine. Again, nothing here totally blew me out of the water. It was fine for what it was. I don't know where they go next with these characters. I guess we'll find out on Dynamite because the next pay-per-view is in February, so they've got a whole month to build that up. Okada and Ospreay with the Continental title 2024. Again, it's Okada and Ospreay, dude. Do I really have to tell you this is good? We saw these guys wrestle earlier this year back in February at that New Japan show when Ospreay and Okada were leaving to come to AEW, and here we go. Look, when you've got Okada and Ospreay, these two guys were literally my number one and number two favorite wrestlers of all time just a couple years ago. I'm not saying they're not anymore. I'm saying that I have liked these guys, I've loved these guys for a long time, and I knew what I was going to get. And like I said, I almost went to California for it. Orlando. I'm an idiot. Orlando for it. I don't think this match was on the level of some of their big New Japan matches, but what they did do in this match, which is really what makes it outstanding, is the fact that Ospreay was fighting from the bottom and selling the fact that he was losing blood and what happened earlier in the show, which is what I predicted, but it's a logical story. It makes perfect sense. The Rainmaker got the job done. There was a crazy closing sequence that was just a tribute to their history, and you're gonna get that with Okada. I mean, these are the guys that Tony Khan has in his company because of their incredible work rate. Two of Dave Meltzer's favorites, but even though people have made jokes about both Meltzer and Tony Khan, the truth is these guys are good. Meltzer might love the Japanese style of wrestling, but you can't be a fan of the business, even a fan of American wrestling, and not understand why these guys are good after seeing their matches. They're phenomenal. They really are two of the best in the world, and they proved it again. So Okada retains. Christopher Daniels comes out and says he's no longer an EVP, and I knew right when he said that, I'm like, here comes Kenny. Kenny Omega comes out, making his return to AEW. The diverticulitis is taken care of. He is going to be wrestling at Wrestle Dynasty in a few days for New Japan, even though that's a New Japan AEW combo show with Ring of Honor and what is it called, the Stardom, even though that's all it's the same company, but still, he's wrestling Gabe Tough on that show. No, Gabe Kidd. Why do I keep saying Gabe Tough? Gabe Kidd. He's wrestling Gabe Kidd on that show. And but he's back, and obviously the last time Kenny was in the ring, Okada said he was the best bout machine. So we're gonna get another Omega Okada match in 2025, maybe even at All In Dallas. I don't know, but that is going to be phenomenal because again, they had a legendary feud, and if I were Tony Khan, I would absolutely feel like a fool if I didn't eventually get to that match. And we're probably going to see another Omega Okada match, and that'll be good as well. So Kenny's return, I think, was a highlight. AEW tends to do this a bit, like, you know, bringing guys back and challenging. They do it. They do it a lot, and I think they need to kind of switch up how they do things a little bit and do more variety stuff. So the main event was the four-way. Moxley defending against Orange Cassidy, Switchblade Jay White, and Hangman. I don't know why Orange Cassidy is in this match after losing last month. And there were a couple spots in this match that had me pulling my hair out. Again, Orange Cassidy being a mid-card comedy act, putting his hands in his pocket in the middle of a world title match and taunting and wasting time. Yes, they did hit Mox with the Shield powerbomb, but right before that, Orange Cassidy, who's fighting for the title again, is goofing off with the... dude, the Pockets thing's played out. It's played out, dude. It's been played out for years now. I wasn't a fan of Orange's TNT title reign because the Pockets thing at that point was played out to me. This character needs to evolve, dude. This character needs to evolve. Hangman has evolved from what he used to be. Jon Moxley, I don't know about evolved, but he's changed. Like, characters in wrestling have to progress and change for them to stay interesting. And Orange Cassidy just doesn't. So the match was very chaotic. I didn't think this match was that great, to be honest. It was nowhere near as good as the Continental Classic matches. A lot of it was a train wreck. There was a lot of outside stuff going on because the Death Riders came in like Wheeler Yuta and Claudio. They showed Christian and the Patriarchy, and then like watching the match, and then they showed Hook. So they were trying to intertwine a lot of storylines here. And what ended up happening, right, like the finish of the match, is Moxley hit the Death Rider. I think it was on Jay White. It was on Jay White, yeah. And then Claudio obviously threw the ref back in and got the pin. And it doesn't matter. I don't care. The plan is for Mox to drop the title to Darby Allin. So I just knew that Mox was going to win. It was predictable. I didn't care that much. Now, the post-match was interesting because they showed FTR showing up. We haven't seen them in a while. And the return, at least I haven't. And the return of Edge, Adam Copeland, rated FTR. And so FTR and Edge run down to the ring. They lay out some of the Death Riders, but they managed to escape with Moxley. And so the story is that Edge, Adam Copeland wants Moxley. So presumably that's going to be the main event of the Australia show or Revolution, depending on which one they promote hot bigger, which will be Adam Copeland against Jon Moxley. It's good to see Adam Copeland again. I mean, it's, you know, Edge, I love that guy. FTR is great. So this will be the next new group to go against Mox. And we'll see where it goes. Because like I said, it's I'm not into this story. I am going to check out this week's Dynamite. I'm going to give them a chance. See if they do something different for the HBO Max era. Because it is going to start on HBO Max this week. But overall, I would say this. Go out of your way to see the Continental Classic matches. If you want to see more, there's nothing wrong with the Mercedes match. Well, the two women's matches were also great. And even Takeshita and Hobbs was good. There was really nothing on the show that I thought was terrible. It's just funny because, to me, the main event was probably the weakest part of the show match-wise. You know what I'm saying? Like, the other matches, I thought, like, if I'm sitting here ranking the enjoyment I had, the other matches gave me more enjoyment. MJF and Adam Cole, the story's a mess, but the match was fun. So, like, the main event is just not connecting with me, and I just don't care. So, those are my thoughts on AEW World's End. Not a great main event, but I thought the show in and of itself overall was good. But again, like I said, it's hard for them to have bad matches. It is, or I'm sorry, bad pay-per-views because it is AEW. But this is definitely not one of those like legendary, memorable ones like some of the ones that we have seen before. You know, like for example, Dynasty. That was a crazy good show. I hope we get back to that. So, anyways, those are my thoughts. What did you think? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching. Happy New Year to all of you. I should still have a couple more videos coming up this week, but I do hope you have a safe New Year's. Okay, take care.